Awesome. All right, great. Welcome. We are here today at our Board of Commissioners regular meeting, February 7th, 11 a.m. I'll ask that everyone turn off their cell phones, silence their cell phones, please. Join me in a moment of Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence to start.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
Okay. First on the agenda is the approval of the new business items.
I don't have any edits, so I'm okay with how it is.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
Good.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Next, community informational items. Commissioner Marcella?
Just that Bright Start is continuing to hire, so if anybody's interested in working in childcare, we have opportunities at Bright Start. We have the mentorship program with Build a Generation, so if you're not familiar with childcare, we can offer and assist you with education and experience through the mentorship program. So if anybody's interested, we have some openings and then we can open another classroom. So that's where we're at.
Great. Commissioner Fiedler?
Maybe just we did receive the 2 mini grants from the Council of Governments, and that paperwork's all complete, so that work can, I think, well, sort of start the process. So the one is for community planning and development to do a cost recovery study similar to what we did for the rec department to sort of re-examine appropriate fee levels and sort of what services have what coverage from taxpayer funds versus from fees on users. And then the second was to install some speed cameras down on the Twin Lakes area on 82 where there's pedestrian crossings and speed drops down, but people don't always obey those speed limits. For some reason, CDOT removed those radar signs that had been there, so this will just replace those in the same spot.
Okay, cool. We have a LaCosta meeting coming up this Thursday, 9 to noon. The CPW wildlife tool process is continuing. There's a couple more of those meetings. I don't think we have dates set yet, but if you haven't signed up for notifications on the county website, please do that for various topics and department projects or programs. The Leadville Outdoor Recreation Economy Community Workshop is coming up on March 16th and 17th. This is a workshop run by students of the University of Colorado Boulder and their environment program in partnership with Colorado Outdoor Recreation Industry Office and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. And we are continuing to plan and prepare for this year's summer season of work on the ground with Colorado State Forest Service for wildfire mitigation. Also on March 10th, we will be hosting our second day of outreach and for SNAP benefit holders to come to the office and get their 3 months, what's meant to be their 3-month stipend to alleviate some of that cliff effect of the federal government reducing or stopping the max allotment for SNAP programming. And also a big congratulations to our community development and planning department on being voted the best county department to work with. It's very exciting. There's a lot going on there. I think that is what I have for community updates.
Maybe just quickly to add, and Ann Schneider, the director, is the best employee to work.
Oh, yay. Yeah, that's right. Awesome.
Besides us, of course.
All right, do we have any commissioner clarifications?
None for me, thank you.
Nothing.
Nothing from me either. All right, now on to public comments on items not on the agenda. And citizens wishing to speak can raise their hand both in the room and on Zoom if you would. Please state your name and your address. And you have 3 minutes for public comment. Any follow-up will be assigned and noted for staff, and we can get your contact information for after the meeting. We have 2 hands. I'll start with Sam Reynolds.
I appreciate it. Sam Reynolds, I own Cloud City Mobile Notary, local business here, locally within Leadville, but I wanted to reach out to everybody here. I just was able to, in the last 3 months, get fingerprinting for Leadville, Lake County, which has been a huge hurdle for several departments. I obviously, Kayla, Commissioner Marcella, you and I have worked together already with that for Bright Start. I've already had a couple of employees come in for that. I wanted to make the 2 of you aware of that as well, since you're probably the best contacts for everybody else.
Yeah.
But people can actually get fingerprinted. Our teachers, Lake County School District's with me now on it. I'm working with Tim Best on that. I don't know if he's actually in, I've never formally met him. But yeah, so that's officially a service that Lake County has, and nobody has to drive an hour to go get it now. So if you need me, or if you want any information on that, I'll leave some business cards up there.
Sure.
Feel free to reach out. There's 168 reasons why somebody needs to be fingerprinted outside of law enforcement or criminal. So any questions?
No, I just will say, Sam did the fingerprinting for Bright Start for, to meet that child care licensing with our board members. And it was very easy to go through and cost effective, so it was a great service.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Marcel. And if you guys, one last thing, or 2 last things. I'm the only certified mobile fingerprinter in the state of Colorado. Not easy to get, but on top of that, I'm from 10 to 1 p.m. on Tuesdays at B&B Shipping, and that's the most cost effective for all of our departments here.
Cool.
So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. If you leave some business cards,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks,
And
Sam.
I've got to run to my next appointment.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
My name's Greg Bertram. I'd just like a status update on where we are with short-term rental moratorium.
Sure. We can connect you with the Community Planning and Development Department for that. We haven't started working, well, the staff has started working, but the moratorium is in place for 8 months.
Until September.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you've had 6 months to work on it.
We'll connect you with the Community Planning and Development.
You all have my phone number and my email address, so you can send me that connection.
Sure.
Yep. Any other public comments? I don't see anything else in the room. Nothing online. Seeing none, moving on to new business. First on our items for new business, consideration of modification for our liquor license at our Safeway store 2824. And we have some folks joining us from Safeway. I think we did table this from our last meeting. We had some questions on the modification and have gotten some more information from the state. So I will open that up for any comments from Safeway. I think our questions were on whether, looking, well, what I've learned, I will say, since the last time, is that the change in legislation automatically updates all those that are holding malt beverage licenses for off-premise retail to the malt beverage and wine. So the modification and the application comes to us. Well, the application comes to us for the modification because there is additional linear feet that you request or are requesting to expand the retail offering. I think our questions or maybe just appreciate you being here for the conversation of the real concern and questions of the community of, can you speak to, is this taking away food product? in a community and the climate of more and more reduced food access. And what are your responses to some of those
So
concerns?
it didn't take away anything from any of the food. All we did was we rearranged the store to add space for wine, but we didn't lose any food. We just moved it to different places. So it's not taking away from anything that we already carried. We didn't like get rid of any products to add the wine. We just rearranged the store to make space for the wine, but all the same products stayed.
Comments or questions for?
We have received their updated license.
Okay,
It's this one, right, Teresa?
yeah, and that was an automatic that the state did with all the current holders to
As of
amend that
March
title
1st.
as of March 1st.
The only point of clarification I would offer for Safeway at this time is to keep in mind that if you need to do this again in the future, that you kind of need to wait until the modification's approved before you start putting the display and stuff out there. Because that was, even though it's somewhat of an automatic change in your license, the application for the modification needs to be approved by the commissioners.
Well, we don't have it on display yet. Our display is completely empty. It's on an end cap, but the whole display shelving unit that's for that,
So there's wine displayed on the end cap, is that,
yeah, but it's not on the display. The display is completely empty, waiting for this.
because I was gonna say I'd heard a report that the wine was being displayed at Safeway already.
It was on an end cap that was not displayed in the wine space at all.
And the end cap, I
Which-
understand from the state is allowable as a temporary, those kind of temporarily rotate.
Yeah, we
Um,
didn't stock it in its original home. It's completely empty. Even when I left right now, it's still empty.
Okay.
Any other questions,
Um,
comments, concerns?
No, just that I hope that Safeway, and I believe their legal's on the line, is that correct?
Is that, Mary, is that?
Yeah,
Yes.
just
I'm
that
John
you'll take,
Stonebreaker.
hi, John. I just hope that you'll take those concerns about food access back to your corporate offices that, we hear that quite frequently about the quality and quantity of food available at our local Safeway. And so expanding the beer and liquor license doesn't have good optics when we have so much food insecurity in our community. So I hope that you'll be able to take that back to corporate, that at least that's a sentiment that I hear consistently from constituents. But that's not to say that our local management like Mary isn't doing a good job. It's just, I wish that corporate had a little larger stake in the game with serving this community.
I will pass that comment and concern on to the corporate people that I work with.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, Mary.
All right, if there are no other questions on the application or for modification, I'll entertain a motion to approve the modification for the liquor license at Safeway 2824.
Sure. I will make a motion that we approve the modification for a liquor license at Safeway 2824.
I'll second.
All right, any other discussion?
No, just thank you for Mary for coming and for working for local people. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
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 All right, next on our agenda. do
Thank
we
you,
have all
John.
the folks here?
Thank you all. Take care. Have a good day.
Okay. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Item 2 on our agenda, we have discussion and consideration of Lake County, considering becoming a rural jumpstart zone. And Tim, do we have folks online?
No, not yet,
Okay.
not until 11:45, so I thought
Okay.
that the agenda item 1 would take longer.
Okay.
So if you wanna go to number 3.
Sounds good. We will circle back to 2. Very good. We have 2 will be a presentation from the state on that opportunity in that program. All right, so number 3 is opening of the Leadville Airport taxi lane bids, and I think that's okay.
I think we have
two here. Josh, do you want to,
Josh and Heather.
and Heather, I did not see you behind Josh there. All right, would you like to open these and just give us a brief overview while Heather
Did we-
opens those?
Did we only receive the two? Yes. Okay.
Josh, you want to give us a brief overview of the project?
Sure. So this is a taxi lane project that we were looking to build using FAA AIP funds, the airport improvement funds. Last year, we bid it out, but we received a single bid, and with the prices of asphalt at that point in time, we decided to shelve the project until this year to hopefully get things kind of stabilized a little bit. So the taxi lane will build off the north end of the current ramp that we have, and then it'll make a 90-degree turn and reconnect to taxiway Alpha. This taxi lane extension will help us, in the future, we'll fill in the middle and we'll build the ramp bigger, and then we also are using it to start ground lease hangar development as well. So then, that's, I guess, the gist of most of the project right now.
So the first bid is from JHL, and they have acknowledged addendum 1 and addendum 2, and provided a bid bond. Their total for Schedule 1 is $1,184,650. They have completed their Buy American certification. And their projected DVE is 3.97%. Our second bid is from Hewitt. They have acknowledged both addendums 1 and 2. Their Schedule 1 is $1,233,300. They've provided their bid bond. And completed their Buy American certification. And their projected DVE amount is 2.45%. And with that, the apparent low bidder is JHL. We will be checking that everything in the bids is complete and reaching out once we discuss with the airport and the county about awarding the project based on funding.
And Josh, remind us is this that 4-year cycle grant funding?
Correct.
Like is it still about
It's
600?
600,000 currently, but we're in a transfer program, so we get 150 a year, with 3 other airports, and then those other 3 airports will transfer their 150 to us. So it's usually it's not exactly 4 years every time, but typically it's about 4 years, depending on what the schedule looks like.
Okay.
You'll kind of plan with the state and stuff about who needs funds when, but typically it's kind of a 4-year thing.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for being here.
Question on JHS, did they include the bid bond too? Yes. That's in it.
Could you repeat that, kind of, 600?
There's federal AIP funding is 600,000, and we have supplemental, BIL bill funding, as well, that came out from the last year's infrastructure bill.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. Thank you very much. And so your next conversation on that will be, amongst yourselves and then with the airport board. Great. Okay. Thank you very much. We still don't have folks on for item 2, so we can go into item number 4, which is an update on the Leadville Lake County Regional Housing Authority. So we have submitted our DOLA infrastructure grant. We are still waiting to hear back on that, and those are for the 2 county parcels and the school district parcel that were identified through an initial assessment and study with engineering and conceptual planning. The school district had offered us a smaller portion of what had been originally identified, and so the portion that they had offered was the northernmost portion of that property that sits on Marshall Duggan Drive, is it? Over there on 3rd and that drive.
3rd Street?
Yeah,
That's 3rd
if
Street,
you,
right?
yep,
Okay.
so
I know
3rd
where you're
goes
thinking
down,
about
right,
it,
and up
yeah.
right behind Federico Field.
Yeah.
And so as it goes up there, that's a portion of 3rd Street that is least used, I would venture to say. There is some land between those 2 roadways that they did offer to the project, so we accepted that offer, or the Housing Authority accepted that offer, as Tim Bergman and I sit on the Housing Authority as the county's representatives. Let's see, Jackie Wheelahan, our housing director, is at the Rocky Mountain Land Institute this week, starting tomorrow, I believe. She was asked to speak on Lake County and the community's efforts through all those planning projects and all of our successes that we've, collectively been able to accomplish with partners. Let's see, Jackie Tim, do you remember the organization that we've partnered with for down payment assistance?
It's helping me.
Okay, I did not pull that up, but so the Housing Authority has partnered with an entity that already provides down payment assistance. Jackie's doing a great job doing outreach in that realm, including with the COG, the Council of Governments, to really get programming here. So the COG, Jackie did inquire about becoming a certified HUD financial planning and assistance program. COG is the only certified folks, and that is often required to get some level of certifications that you've taken these classes for a lot of first-time home buyers. So Again, the COG, no one else really can, or the COG is not offering to, and it doesn't really make sense to certify other folks to do that work with that responsibility that is tasked to the COG to provide that programming and those certifications for potential home buyers. So Jackie is working to get those, that programming connected with more folks as well.
On your regional
else that you
housing?
have? Yeah, on the housing
Tim, do
authority.
you have anything else?
I was trying to find the name of the,
Here, I'll look now
the
while
credit
you.
union that we partnered with. But like I said, the big thing is that hopefully in March we'll, learn if we receive the, innovation grant award or not.
Are we doing an application for CDS to complement that, or?
Not to, yes, we are doing a congressionally directed spending request, for workforce and affordable housing. But it's not focusing on infrastructure.
Okay.
Since both are federal funds, so talking more in general needs about, housing, purchasing properties, things like that, and the congressionally directed spending.
I had a question. I was curious if the housing authority has had any discussions or even taken a position on any of the like legislation moving or can.
We have not had discussions. I know that conversation, actually, I believe the Democratic Central Committee would like to kind of cover that this Thursday night in their meeting. And I think we've been reached out to by a few folks. But I know Chris sent us some information on a newly drafted bill to look at regarding water quality in mobile home parks. Yep.
The first right of refusal.
That is another good one to keep an eye on, is it just counties
I think it's
or the
local
local
governments.
jurisdiction?
I think local governments are, the ability to have the first right of refusal on multi-unit properties that are for sale. So you like match the offer, give the opportunity to match the offer, and then move forward before it's sold to a private individual,
Mhm.
right?
That's my understanding.
And the rent control legislation.
Yeah, which I understand. I think a version of that did pass the House. So
I think it
it's-
did.
So it's in the Senate, and
Mhm.
again, from my understanding that, but that'll take some work and support to make happen, to give counties and local jurisdictions the authority.
Yeah.
To do that.
Yeah. We'll probably have it on our next agenda. I'm not sure if Jackie sent that out yet.
I don't think she has, because we're also working on, strategic planning and creating a plan on a page for the housing authority,
Nice.
which we'll do in April.
Yep, and that's to kind of expand, we've been so focused on the project at hand of development and construction, and we really need to kind of circle back to making sure that Jackie and she is doing a great job looking at all those other programming and trying to fold that into opportunities for the community, but just really focusing on like what is the program that we can build and should build, and more partnerships to bring those resources here. So it'll touch more than construction projects.
Okay.
I think that's what I have for now on the Regional Housing Authority update. Yeah. And unless there are any other questions, and we can certainly jump back to it. Let's see, next on our list is an update on Lake County Transit programs and projects. Can you give us
Sure. So we've received the MMOF funding to implement the local transit route. Chris and I met with Sydney. And because we're still waiting on the capital request from the Federal Transit Authority, we've been able to let prioritize that a little lower on her list until we know if we're eligible to purchase capital through the Federal Transit Authority, or if we need to use a portion of our MMOF funding to purchase a vehicle. Because that is an eligible cost aside from the operations of the transit route. We can use a portion of that to purchase a vehicle. So we're just waiting to hear from that. We should hear on the money from the Federal Transit Authority by the end of March, and then kind of know where to go from there. Aside from that, the update that we've gotten from CDOT is that it's 18 months out for a new vehicle. So like if you order one today, you shouldn't expect it for 18 months. But there are other places, like Grant County as an example, that has decided to get rid of their local transit route and are offloading some of their capital assets, so that might be an opportunity for us to pick one up from them, or buy a used one from other local transit authorities. So we're looking into that right now with CDOT and their procurement team.
I think we were looking into whether or not we could use the existing senior vans
Mhm.
to get an answer.
I haven't gotten an answer on that yet. Sydney and I were working on that with the CDOT procurement team too. So when you purchase a vehicle from the Federal Transit Authority, you get, and you state what its stated purpose is. Like if you deviate from that, there's a risk of having to pay back a portion of the federal funding for the value of the vehicle. So we're working with CDOT to understand if we pull this out of only using for senior programming and use it on our deviated fixed route, which still serves seniors, is that too much of a deviation from the original award, or is that a feasible option for us in the interim? So Sydney and I are asking those questions of CDOT now. And then our next steps will be to just narrow down the exact locations of those bus stops, recognize where there may be bus shelters currently, and then work on the dispatching, see what that looks like with dispatching, and hiring in-house and job description and those kinds of things, which will be covered by the MMOF funding. So those are our next steps while we're waiting to understand what our options are for capital.
Remind me, sorry, is the MMO, is the salaries and the administration of it for a year, or how long?
It should be up to 5 years with the MMOF funding. And then we'll be able to approach the city to cover a portion of our match of the MMOF funding. So like if our match is 25% per year, split that 25% 50-50, or what does that look like with the city? But I've had some preliminary conversations with Lori and the mayor, and we'll give city council an update on March 21st, and then ask them about that match. So that opportunity is there as well. So that's the other thing is we were awarded the MMOF funding like 6 months ago, I think. Or does that sound right? Yeah. CDOT still doesn't know how to administer the MMOF funding. So we're like stuck in this holding pattern of like the money's like sitting here, but they're not sure like if the transportation portion of that comes through the Division of Transit and Rail, and then Jeff's planning portion comes through a separate planning division at CDOT. So we're still kind of in this holding pattern to understand how to actually access that money and report on it, which is what we're waiting for from Aaron.
Yeah, and maybe just add, we finally have a kickoff meeting for the other, for the end of this month, so March 24th.
Cool.
So hopefully we'll learn some more.
Yeah.
Their administration, they are slow.
Yeah, so we met with them in December, and they said not to consider that a kickoff meeting, just to consider that an informational gathering. And so now it sounds like your portion of it is ready to start moving forward. Tim and I have finished working on some of the reporting for the transit feasibility grant. Then we'll be able to invoice the city for their portion of that grant as well.
Do you have updates on the planning pieces, the safety improvement? Just at that.
Only that without a kickoff meeting, we don't have the paperwork in place, so zero idea of like what the requirements are for the RFP. I mean, eventually we will put an RFP out for that planning work, but I don't know what
They're
needs to
gonna,
be in that.
yeah,
So no, like zero. At some, I mean, yeah, and I haven't, like, in my mind is like, before putting the RFP out, it would be good to have some kind of, formal or informal, like, outreach to like business owners and community members along the areas to, just so the RFP scope and questions are matching community desires, but again, without guidance on timing and what hoops would jump through on the CDOT side. I haven't sort of implemented any of that. in
Is
any
the
formal
Leadville
way.
Sanitation Office part of your planning?
Yeah, I mean,
That
maybe not
inter-
the office, but that intersection.
intersection?
Yeah,
Okay.
that intersection with, it's got like 2 pedestrian crossings.
Right.
One of which is completely unmarked.
Yeah,
The
with the
Mineral
Mineral
Trail, like, I don't know how that
So
ever got.
Leadville Sand did have a traffic study done on
Oh, right,
that intersection and the
okay.
parking lot into Dutch Henry. Jane told me that it was just completed.
okay.
So I don't,
Great.
from my understanding, they don't actually know yet the specifics in the traffic study of like, you need to create these turn lanes or what that, or mark these crossings or whatever. So I had given her your contact information because I knew that that was part of your planning grant. But you may just want to follow up with
Yeah.
them.
And those projects were like the alternate haul route, and I'm going from south in my head north, alternate haul route, that intersection
Yeah, so the
at
CMC
McQuethy,
sanitation.
CMC,
Yeah.
safety at the intersection of 24 and 91 and like the corridor
Yeah,
leading
kinda,
into
yeah, kind of from like
city limits.
the
Yeah.
Safeway traffic light out to the Shell station,
Okay.
and the 91-24 intersection,
Yeah,
and then the
Mountain View
Mountain
Village.
View line
village,
corner.
Yeah.
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 That, okay.
When's the next TPR meeting coming up? It's few and
Yeah.
far between. Are
Yeah.
they
There was
pretty
a lot of
regular?
there was a lot of turnover on the IMTPR
Yeah.
right after the MLF fundings were
Okay,
done. There was a lot of turnover on our Intermountain plan. So I don't actually know where it stands, but I know that like Bentley, who we submitted our application to, had left. And I think there was somebody else that was chairing the TPR that may have left in Eagle County. But I'm not 100% certain on that.
okay. Maybe,
There's a special meeting in February for like one.
A one-off
letter of
thing, right?
Yeah. It's like a letter of support for some raised grants for other jurisdictions.
That's all I've seen come through from them though.
Yeah, I don't see a March or April meeting.
We could maybe connect with Eagle County and see if they, because I think they were chairing the TPR.
Yeah.
So maybe we can connect with them and just see where it's at.
cool, great. Thanks. All right, any more updates on transit? Looks like we might have our folks, can we have everybody here or not yet?
I don't,
Okay,
I don't have any additional updates. That's really where I'm at.
I can do Justice Center really quick while folks are gathering.
sounds great.
Okay.
And basically, as we discussed, we had that, pretty clear list of sort of direction to staff on next steps. The assembled design team is continuing to work on sort of loose ends on the design and getting it through to those detailed design drawings, so that we can, in some number of months, go back out to subs with, the clearest specs as possible to sort of see if sub pricing comes down on sort of the plan A direction, if you will. And then DPM, our owner's rep, is working on drafting RFPs for work on assessing this facility, like options for this facility that could meet detention and court needs, and sort of what that looks like. And then I'm also working on actually I'm a little hazy on this one, so I'll clarify, but like working on, the other pathway is then what phasing of Plan A would look like. So
Okay.
we would build detention, law enforcement, or courts parts of that building in a phased approach. Like what does that look like? What are the cost implications? What are the design change implications? Because you need to have exterior walls
Right,
where you
right.
wouldn't.
Yeah,
What does it do to mechanical
okay,
phase? Do you do all the mechanical up front? Like, or can you phase that? All those things. And then digging into the operational issues, like if detention's over there, but courts and sheriff's office, like what security still here? What does that do to like staffing levels or safety or whatever?
okay,
So I think there will be an RFP for facilitating some of that discussion, but some of the design work could fit under a scope modification of our current contracts. So DPS is figuring that out too.
okay.
So I think basically just proceeding as we had discussed. Actually, maybe one other thing just to say, like in terms of communication, we have had some initial communication with underfunded courts just to let them know, where we stand with potential project delays, and they're processing that internally.
Yeah.
In terms of what that does to sort of reimbursement scope or timeline.
Okay.
And similarly had a discussion with the executive committee, so, the judges and other folks on the court side, the sheriff, the city, all know, about the delays and different paths we're looking at. And I'd say everyone, no one's happy, but everyone understands, and no one has a better idea of what path to do. So I think everyone is on board with the steps we're taking.
Great, thank you. What would you like to do? Should we?
Sorry. Never moved so quickly. Tracy, do you want to introduce yourself and maybe provide an overview of what you do at SCED while we wait for Morgan to get on?
Sure. So can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. So good morning, everyone. My name is Tracy Gutierrez, and I'm with SCED. We're the Southern Colorado Economic Development District, and I work in 6 of our counties that we serve. We serve a 13-county region. Lake County is one of the counties, and I made it there in October, and my apologies, I haven't made it back for an in-person visit due to weather, but I can't wait to come for a visit again because it's so beautiful there. But I'm really looking forward to working with you all. I've been on board with SCED since October, and we've got a lot of great things happening. So just very brief overview for anyone that might not be as familiar with SCED. We provide support for our member counties, one of which obviously is Lake County. And we work directly with the county commissioners, county managers on access to capital. We want to be a strong resource for you all for economic development. We also have our Community Navigator program that supports workforce development. And that's a program that started during COVID for small business relief. And we're continuing that. That grant will end in October of this year, but then we're looking to expand on that with some workforce development grants that we just received word that we've been invited to apply for some additional funding that we'll be able to share more about. For those of you that might be on the board of SCED, you'll probably hear about it tomorrow. So that's going to be one of our newer initiatives for the coming year. Something else that we are working on heavily is our broadband plan. So we are working with a company out of Fort Collins by the name of Detesco. And what we're trying to do is maximize those dollars that are coming into the state of Colorado through the Colorado Broadband Office so that we can distribute them among our member counties and have a big impact in the area of broadband and connectivity. Because as we know, we learned with educational resources, healthcare, telehealth, all those things that happened when we were all stuck at home, that connectivity is really important. And one thing about my region that I work in, so I work in 6 of our counties, Huerfano, Chaffee, Fremont, Custer, Lake, and Pueblo. So we have I have a more mountainous area. So we want to be sure that we have a strong plan that we can connect folks and keep them connected. So we're working on that as well. There's more information about our broadband initiative on the website also. And we're currently conducting some roundtable discussions throughout the region. And we will also be having either biweekly or monthly calls. For anyone who's interested, you can either share your information in the chat, or Tim, if you wouldn't mind letting me know, and I can add folks to our distribution list for those updated calls for the broadband initiative, just to keep everyone in the loop. There's a lot of counties that have been doing some of their own planning. We don't want to step on anybody's toes. We just want to maximize the dollars coming into the state. So those strong partnerships really provides a good support mechanism for our member counties in order to make sure that we keep everybody connected in a strong way. So that's a little overview of SCED. My role here today is in support of Morgan and the Rural Jumpstart Initiative as a sponsoring organization. So I want to defer to her, and I will let her explain a little bit about that. But SCED is very proud and would be pleased to be the sponsoring organization for Lake County for this important program for economic development in Lake County. So thanks for letting me be here today, even if it is on a little screen. So.
Appreciate that intro and information. Morgan, would you want to jump into us and introduce yourself, and feel free to, Tim, do you want to give us some background before she goes into the opportunity of the program? Okay.
No, Morgan will cover all of that.
Great. All right, Morgan, thanks for being here.
Yeah, sorry I was a minute late. My dogs decided to bark right when I was logging into Zoom. So I'm going to share my screen. It looks like you guys have a good screen in there to see some slides.
Yep, and you should be able to share your screen now.
Great. Okay, can you see it all right?
Yep.
Cool. All right, great. Well, thank you all so much for having me today. My name is Morgan Van Kat. I work with OEDIT, managing the Rural Jumpstart and Scale Advanced Programming. This is little Morgan. I grew up in rural Nebraska, so I'm really passionate about this topic and love having the opportunity to help out rural Colorado, especially with Rural Jumpstart. So if I get really passionate, that's why. So today I will first do a brief overview of Rural Jumpstart. I'll talk about the benefits, the requirements for businesses to join, and then we'll talk specifically about what we're asking from the county and why we think this is such a great program specifically for Lake County. So first of all, Rural Jumpstart was originally created in 2016 as a tax relief program, but in 2021, the state also added some grant funding to Rural Jumpstart, which I think has just made it a whole lot more usable for our counties and our rural businesses. The program was created to benefit businesses that are either starting or relocating in rural economically distressed counties in Colorado, known as Rural Jumpstart Zones and as designated by OEDIT, of which Lake County is one. So as I mentioned, first we'll go through the benefits, then we'll go through the requirements, and then we'll talk about what we're asking the county for. So first, as I alluded to, there are two main benefits to the program, and that's tax and grant benefits. So first we'll go through the tax benefits. When a business is approved into Rural Jumpstart, they receive relief from the following taxes listed here through a refund when they file their taxes each year. So you can see that's for the state business income tax, state sales and use tax, and the county and municipal business personal property tax if the county has that tax. Some counties don't, so I always like to throw that in there. But I do just want to reiterate that we're not touching the property tax. This is only the business personal property tax. So it's more of those movable assets that the business has. Not going to mess with the property tax, which we all know is so important, especially in our rural areas. And then finally, qualified employees known as new hires, which I'll discuss more on the next slide, also receive relief through a refund for their state personal income tax. So it's a good deal, not only for the business, but also for the qualified employees, which we'll talk about more on the next slide. So next is grant benefits. There are two different types of grants that businesses are eligible for when they're part of Rural Jumpstart. The first is a $20,000 general operating matching grant. So you can see here, it's a 3-to-1 match of business expenses. Think of that as 25%. So a total of 4 parts, we match 1. So we'll match any business expenses up to 25%, meaning the business will spend $80,000 on their lease, their equipment, salaries, marketing expenses, any reasonable business expense that they can provide a receipt for, and we'll match that up to $20,000. I've only said no to a couple things in the past, and I most of the time get a chuckle when I list them. One was a networking dinner that had a lot of booze and not a lot of purpose. I've also been asked to reimburse for late fees on cell phone bills, which are completely avoidable. And then the not so obvious one is that the state doesn't allow us to match any money paid into taxes because it's kind of seen as double dipping. But other than that, I try to be really flexible as long as we have those receipts and proof that it's a business expense. The second grant that the business is eligible for is a $2,500 grant per new hire. So on the last slide, we mentioned those tax benefits for qualified employees. That's the same. The qualified employee is the new hire. The tax benefits are for the employee, but the grant is for the business. However, the benefits both have the same qualifications. So in order to qualify for this grant and for the tax benefits, the employee must be making a salary above the county's average annual wage, which you can see here for 2023 is a little over $52,000. This can be in a salary form or an hourly wage. It's just whatever's on that W-2 that they turn in for tax purposes. Additionally, the employee must be full-time, spending 80% or more of their time in the zone. And then before those benefits can be awarded, the employee has to be with the company for at least 6 months. Right now, the grant program is set to expire June 30th, 2024. So in the last year, we have been doing a lot of outreach to try to get more counties to become a part of this program so we can get this money spent down. We are looking at proposing an extension next year, but it's a little bit too early to start working on that request. So we'll keep you all posted on if this gets extended or not. Any questions about the benefits before we move on to the requirements?
The only question I have is on the area average wage. Is that like of all of the employers in Lake County or just Lake County government?
It's all of the employers in Lake County. This is a number that we use for multiple different programs in the area, and it is an average, not a median, unfortunately.
Okay.
So it does tend to skew a little high from what people would expect.
I have a question, Tracy, that the $2,500 for the employer per employee, what do they typically use that for? What are some creative ways either to address recruitment or retention?
So
Like,
the
do
money
they have to spend that on that employee, or can they then invest it in further recruitment?
they can invest it on anything with their business. It's a grant. So we actually haven't, because this grant program started in July of 2021, this will be the first year that we get to award the new hire grants. So we're in the middle of our annual report process. We award the new hire benefits once a year about this time. We're proposing it to the EDC in March. And then this is just money that they can use however they decide. Great. Okay, let's move on to the requirements. So I just want to preface this with that this program is not intended to support every business in the county. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when we go through the requirements. But just want to keep in mind that this program is really focused on economic development without taking away from any businesses that are already existing in the county. So 4 main rules here to take note of. The first is that the business cannot be operating in Colorado at the time of application. They can be doing research and development, they can be working on prototyping, or they can be operating in another state and moving into the area but they just can't be operating at the time of application. The second is that, and I forgot to update this, so I apologize. I use this presentation a lot. The business cannot compete with a similar business in their county or the adjacent economically distressed counties or zones. So the one benefit that Lake County really has that gives it a leg up as it pertains to this program is that you all are not surrounded by any economically distressed rural counties. So for this program, you can ignore this. Obviously was adapted for Costilla County, and I didn't update this part. Lake County doesn't have any other counties that they have to compete against. So for you guys, it would solely be that the business cannot compete against any business that already exists in the county. So that's a leg up that you guys have. Additionally, the business must export a product or service outside of Lake County. Tourism is considered an exportable service, which might come in handy for you guys. And then finally, the business must hire at least 5 employees over their 4 years in the program at or above that county's average annual wage. Any questions on these requirements?
No.
Okay, great.
I had a question on that export product. Is that like exclusively export, or like I'm just curious, like, I don't know, like I'm thinking of like, I don't know, it's like Melanzana makes sweatshirts and like some are sold to locals and some are sold outside. So I'm just curious, is that like literally 100%?
It's not wholesale. Yeah, it's not.
Well, maybe that's a bad business example.
No, I think
but
that's a
yeah.
fine example.
Yeah.
Because you're, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, she's on the right track. So it doesn't have to be solely exported outside of the county. It can be inside the county as well, but we just want them to have some level of exporting a product or service to generate more economic activity for the county.
And
Okay.
tourism counts as an exporter.
Right.
So,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah. And then the final rule, which is also, I think it doubles as a benefit, is that any business that applies for the program must be sponsored into the program by a sponsoring entity, which Tracy and her organization have graciously agreed to serve as that sponsoring entity. But if a business is already working with CMC or even CMU and WCCC, the colleges in the area, that's fine as well. But we plan to work really closely with all of the sponsoring entities listed here. In the past, I've seen the most success when the Institutes of Higher Education work with the local EDO and they really talk and find and send businesses to each other. And that's where I've seen the most success so far in this program. So really excited to work with Tracy. Also really excited to work with the colleges in the area. Okay, so it's a lot of rules, and I'm sure everyone's like, well, who the heck even qualifies for this program with how many requirements that there are? So these are just some businesses that we're currently working with. One business that I really like to talk about that isn't on this list is Sedgwick County. Really was hesitant to join the program because they have a pretty low population and they were unsure what types of businesses would even qualify for them. They joined the program, and within a month, we had a gentleman propose the idea that he's always wanted to start a CDL training facility. And there were no other CDL training facilities in his surrounding counties. And so he was accepted into the program last summer and has just been growing and has stayed really busy. So it might be hard to think of some examples of businesses that would qualify, but we have seen so many entrepreneurs step up, especially in our more rural areas, and propose ideas that we never could have even thought of. So you'll find some really creative people that'll come in and talk to us about some great businesses that they want to start. So the reason that we are all here today, as you can see, we have a whole lot of zones that have already been formed in Colorado. But one of those is Lake has not become a zone yet. And so we're here today to hopefully convince you all to join this program and give your potential businesses in the area the opportunity to access some of these funds. So in order to do that, we're really asking the county to agree to two things by passing a resolution. And the first is to join the program. And the second is to provide relief from the county business personal property tax only for businesses that join Rural Jumpstart and only for their time in the program. When a business becomes a part of Rural Jumpstart, they're admitted for 4 years with the eligibility for 1 extension. So a total of 8 years if they decide to participate in the extension. After that, the taxes go back to business as usual. This doesn't impact the local sales and use tax. It's only the state sales and use tax. And then also, because the businesses cannot be operating when they apply for this program, there's no loss of tax revenue for the county because that revenue never existed in the first place since they shouldn't be operating at the time. So that's what we are asking for today. In order to become a zone, the county commissioners first need to pass a resolution with the things that we just talked about on the last slide. We would work with Tracy and her organization to apply for the county to become a zone and then get approved by the EDC. After that, we'll work with the city of Leadville to pass a similar resolution and be approved by the EDC. And then we'll start working on getting some businesses to join the program and get some grant money out into Lake County. So with that, I'd like to open it up for questions, clarifications, anything that I can do to help you guys feel comfortable with joining this program.
Morgan, I'm wondering, sorry, Chris also has a question.
No, go ahead.
Does the city need to participate in this if the county does participate in that? Because I'm just wondering how this might conflict or compete with the Urban Renewal Authority and the programs that they might continue to develop to reinvest property tax dollars. And I wouldn't want, I mean, that making kind of a generalization, which I think would be applicable in theory, that any commercial areas in the city are already incorporated into the URA zone. And it's kind of, I don't know if this is robbing Peter to pay Paul or what, you know, trying to trading like programs.
I would think so, because I think, you know, when you go through the assessment process and you declare your personal property, and then that's included in your valuation and your taxes are calculated off of that, like with the personal property taken off the top, like they just wouldn't realize that to be diverted to the URA. So I don't know if that would exclude them from participating in, like if the URA had money to give out to businesses or grant out to businesses, I don't know if they could participate in both programs. I would assume that they could. Yeah, I would think so. From the URA perspective, I just don't know about from their perspective.
Right.
Yeah, from our perspective, we I don't see any problem with them participating in the Urban Renewal Authority. That's not something that the state manages on our end. A couple of clarifications. I think you meant business personal property tax, but just to be super clear, we aren't touching any property tax. It's just that business personal property tax, which it looks like you know, but I always like to clarify.
Yep.
Yeah. And then to answer your initial question, so the municipality cannot join the Rural Jumpstart program unless the county joins. However, the municipality is not required to join the program just because the county does.
Okay.
So if there was a business in the municipality that wanted to participate, but the municipality wasn't participating, could they apply through the county for the program?
No.
Okay, so it's like subjected to the city limits. Okay.
Correct. However, if there is a business that's located outside of the city limits and the county joins, then they wouldn't require any municipality to join if they're outside of those city limits and unincorporated.
Hi, Morgan. Chris Floyd. I serve as the county's attorney. One question I had in reviewing the manual that was sent out to preppers in terms of trying to clarify what would be encompassed within the Rural Jumpstart zone, and there's a comment in there, it talks about that the county may limit the zone to the entire unincorporated areas of the county, all of the incorporated areas of the county, or both. So, and I guess that might dovetail with that question too, if the county decided to include the whole county, even if the city didn't participate, any new businesses within the city would be able to participate in the zone, or what?
No, I don't think so, right?
Because no,
You're correct.
So, which is correct.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Is it-
I was looking at the commissioner. I apologize.
Okay.
So the business, if they are located in a municipality, they have to have the support of the municipality. We do require that. If the business is located in an unincorporated part of the county, then they are fine with just joining the zone or joining the program since they're not a part of a municipality.
So like if we wanted to recruit somebody to take any commercial spot in the rail yard, the city would have to participate first.
Okay, that's what I wanted to, yeah.
Before we could incentivize that in the rail yard.
And Tim has already connected us with the city of Leadville, so we're looking forward to that conversation. I don't think we've set a meeting quite yet, but in the next week or so.
Cool.
Okay. And I know Commissioner Marcel, you were concerned about the impact this might have on Chronics, which when I read it, it just applies to
new
new
business,
stuff, so
yeah.
it shouldn't have any impact on them.
And the one thing, I know I already said this, but I do just want to reiterate that Lake County is in a really good position to take advantage of this program in terms of the competitive analysis, because you don't have to compete against any, we are not looking at any businesses in the surrounding counties to Lake because they're not classified as rural or economically distressed, one or the other. And so Lake County is just in such a great position to hopefully get a few businesses to qualify for this program that maybe aren't already existing in the county. So really looking forward to publicizing this program in your area if you decide to become a Rural Jumpstart Zone.
I had a clarifying question. I think you said this pretty clearly, but just to check, so this has to be a new business, like this can't be a business relocating from elsewhere in the county, because I think one thing that we're hearing anecdotally is, as you know, as property values go up, some businesses are being kind of like priced out of like their rent or, you know, available land, but that wouldn't qualify for this program, right?
Unfortunately, we can't allow businesses relocating from within the state to qualify for the program. But if they are moving from out of state, which doesn't necessarily meet your concerns, but if they're relocating from, let's say, Wyoming, Utah, New Mexico, wherever, that's fine, but they just can't be relocating within the state.
Okay.
Right, Morgan, you kind of touched on it, but can you talk about if the commissioners do approve this, and then the city approves it, can you talk about it's just what OEdit does and what the admin burden would be on the city and county?
Sure. So we would, after you guys become a part of the zone, the only thing that would really require county and city administration is if you have that business personal property tax, just working with them to make sure they receive the refund for that. We are the ones that look at the annual reports. We're the ones that issue the tax certificates that they file with their taxes. And then we work hand in hand with the sponsoring entity and take on whatever level of ownership they want us to have in terms of recruiting businesses for the program. I have some counties where the EDO does not have the capacity to meet with businesses to see if they qualify. And I take on meeting with those businesses to, see if they qualify or not. I have some counties that are really well equipped to qualify businesses in or out, and they only send them to me pretty much when the business is ready to apply. So we'll work really closely with Tracy and her team to establish some of those roles. But in terms of the administration for the county and the city, really all it would just be acknowledging the tax certificates that we issue out to the business every year, and then just deciding how much of a refund they would get back. And we haven't heard any complaints from counties or municipalities on this so far, because a lot of areas don't even have that tax. So
Thank you.
I'm wondering, I feel like we kind of have these steps in place for economic development that the county wants to pursue, conversation in our comp plan and future land use and rezoning to incentivize commercial or light industrial. And I'm, thinking about concentrating that development and encouraging that development in existing infrastructure areas in the city and on the periphery. And I just wonder if it would be wise to take a better inventory, because I would hate to promote a program where we don't actually have space to bring in a company like that, and then grapple with, I mean, we could certainly be surprised and people could get creative and there could be other opportunities, but I would just hate to like grapple with them, some proposal out in the middle of nowhere that's not an ideal, like this is just, should be connecting with our desire to direct development at the city core and on the periphery. And I think we are working to complete those pieces of the puzzle, but I just don't know. Do you take some sort of inventory, Morgan, on where there is actual physical
Space.
Opportunity?
Right, so we do not. However, what I will say is that although the $20,000 grant plus whatever new hire grant they would receive is definitely a great benefit, because it is only a 25% match. Typically, we are working with companies that have agreed to settle in these areas for other reasons. The $20,000 grant isn't, from what I have seen, typically enough of a sole reason for them to locate into one of these areas. And by the time that a business gets to us, they typically are locating to these counties for other reasons outside of just Rural Jumpstart. So I guess I can't completely alleviate the concern that you have. But based off of what I have seen in prior conversations, Rural Jumpstart is not enough to be the sole indicator of why a business would choose to move into a community. And I think that Tracy and her team, along with the county commissioners, would do a good job of identifying those spaces before they bring the business to me.
Well, I think if we wanted to participate and incentivize anybody like quickly, we would have to have city partnership with that. So if there's any space in the rail yard, that would be the ideal space right now, because we don't have parcels that have infrastructure or have been subdivided enough to like say, put your business here, like here's the space,
Morgan, if I may, is OEDA collecting any data on the types of businesses and such that are participating in the Rural Jumpstart program to give an idea of what type of business it may generate for this community?
Yeah, so because this program has a wide range of requirements, we've seen some really unique businesses come into the program. So I already mentioned one of my favorites, the CDL training facility. We also have a couple of tech companies that have come in. So we have one company that, for a lack of better terms, they're like a Google search for medical research. That's one company that we've done. We have another company that is manufacturing granola bars, which is really cool. We have a company that's manufacturing children's ski apparel or outdoor apparel. Let's see, what other companies have we had? We have an expedition camper manufacturing company that opened up in Silverton. So we really have a wide range of companies, and it seems like every time I turn around, I'm getting a more unique idea.
And so is that data collected somewhere so that, we could look, because that, in terms of trying to figure out, are we just looking at the typical mom and pop type entrepreneurs that we have now? Are we looking at the light industrial manufacturing type of stuff that I think Lake County would want to attract?
I will, we have a little bit of both.
Okay.
But we have a list of the companies on our website, and I will post Rural Jumpstart's website into the chat for you all. And I think it's at the bottom of the page, so you can take a look.
The list is at the bottom of the page?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm posting it in the chat now.
Cool. This is probably a question for both of you. It seems to me that a lot of those incentives would be really great. And to Commissioner Fiedler's question, I kind of peaked and got a little bit excited about that relocation, whether that was available for current businesses. It seems like the 20,000 and again, sorry, the list of incentives that you're offering could be really potentially transformational for existing businesses in the community that are looking to expand? Are there other programs that would offer the same thing for local businesses and expansion?
We do. So I manage two main programs. So Real Jumpstart, which you guys know all the requirements for. I do manage a workforce training grant that Mel and Zana actually just received a grant from Skill Advance to train some of their employees. And so we do have some training grants for those businesses that are already existing. If you have any businesses in mind, I can definitely take a look at their purpose and what they're doing and see if there are other programs that are applicable. But off the top of my head right now, just because the program that I manage is the workforce training grant, that's the first one that comes to mind. And that's eligible for businesses of all size already operating. I was really excited to get a grant from Melizana, actually.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
I was just curious, I mean, Stephanie, I see you on the line. I don't know if you have any questions, but definitely welcome you to chime in if you have any questions on sort of the tax collection revenue side of things.
It would have little impact. Thanks, Steph.
All right, I think, yeah, good info to digest, for sure. And we can just explore that even with the city as well, and kind of look at some of those questions we had on physical spaces, look at the list of folks we might be attracting who's looking and like coming to SCED and OEdit to search for new businesses, because I think we have that can help inform our upcoming conversations on zone changes and incentives with the airport business park and infrastructure investment on our part to kind of keep those things moving for the purpose. So thanks for all the information. Does anyone else have any other questions?
No,
Just one other thing, Commissioner,
Yes.
as part of your membership as a SCED organization, so those questions that you asked about current businesses and those needs and those economic development needs that you might have, that's also what we do. So for the current situation with current businesses and infrastructure and those types of things, if you'd like to sit down, or if you'd like me to come to a meeting in person, if you and I could sit down and just talk through some of those items for current existing businesses, SCED can provide support for that as well through additional funding opportunities and funding lines that we have access to. That's part of what we do. So I'd like to offer that as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Tracy. Great.
Thank you all so much for your time, and please feel free to reach out to me if you have any other lingering questions that come up. Would be really excited to partner with you all and hopefully get some money out to Lake County.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll keep you posted.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Tracy. Cool. All right. Good information.
All right.
Okay. We are through our agenda other than approving reports, minutes, bills, and payroll.
I don't see anything on the posted agenda.
On reports, minutes, bills, and payroll?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
It's
you're
just
right.
been-
Sorry, I was misreading
geez.
that as when it was posted on March 3rd.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
great. All right, well then there is nothing else.
Okay.
Anything else? Are you?
No.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Then we will adjourn at 12:18. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Can I end this now?
Yeah.